all about the game and how you play it. It's all about control, and if you can take it, it's all about your debt. And if you can pay it, it's all about pain. And who's gonna make it? Time to play the game. Time to play the game.
Oh, right, Reboot. The little elves living inside your computer show. It's been a while. What are we watching today? Wizards, Warriors, and a word from our sponsor. Oh, okay, the show's attempt to justify the existence of Mike the TV. Here's the thing about annoying characters. They come in two different ways. You have characters that the creators didn't think were annoying, but the audience did. Jar Jar Binks and Scrappy Doo being the gold standard. And I can forgive that. You make a misjudgment of your character's appeal, mistakes happen, we can all move on. But then you have characters who are intentionally annoying, whose annoying traits are acknowledged by the text, who annoy the other characters in the story. Mike the TV is one of the latter, a character so annoying that we open the episode with Bob hiding from him from behind the couch.
It slices, dices, cuts, copies, pastes, and even formats julienne fries!
This is a very tricky thing to pull off, the intentionally annoying character, because if you don't properly justify it, if you don't get a good story out of it, all you're left with is the audience resentment of intentionally annoying them. The existence of sentient appliances in this world of sentient computer programs does bring up some rather uncomfortable questions of ownership. Is Mike in some way less of a person than Bob? Does Bob owning Mike effectively make Mike a slave? Is Bob's threats of dismantling Mike effectively the same as threats of murder? But we can hardly focus on that when a GameCube falls right on top of Bob's apartment, forcing Bob, Dot, Enzo, and Mike the TV to play A Dungeon Deep, a fantasy dungeon crawling game where our heroes have to race the user to the end. The user's team seems to consist of, Skyrim mascot, the Hunchback of Notre Dame, Friar Tuck You Up, and Fu Manchu riding around on Goku's cloud. Our heroes reboot and end up in more generic fantasy character tropes. Dot becomes a magic casting wizard, Enzo the arrow slinging elf, and Bob becomes the hapless thief. Bob is taken aback by this. If he's the thief, that means, Mike the TV is the warrior, the big damage dealer. Unfortunately, he's too weak to even hold up his own sword. Now, this GameCube took the entire apartment complex. I'm sure there's some protocol on if you're an untrained citizen who got caught up in a GameCube. Don't panic, stay where you are, do not engage the user, etc. So I'm guessing Bob's neighbors are sitting this one out. But it would probably be worth it to tag somebody in who can actually, use the tools needed to win the game. Yes, Stu, I know you have a bad back, but our sentient TV is just the worst with his new alarms, and we're all going to get nullified if you don't step up. Bob says he's familiar with the game, but since nobody seems to know what to expect, I'm going to assume this is some kind of roguelike with randomized elements. What follows is our four protagonists going through the game level by level and facing whatever challenges lay in their way. One of the first rooms they come across has two knight statue enemies, and Bob takes the hero role, only to discover he's woefully under-equipped.
Prepare to taste the blade of my butter knife? Don't you just hate when that happens?
Oh, come on. What's the point of a thief character if they don't have an awesome backstabbing dagger? There's no point where the characters have to sneak around, no point where a door needs to be unlocked. There's absolutely no role for a thief character in this game. The game developers really need to take a class on system balance. Dot ultimately defeats the knights with magic. She doesn't appear to have a magic source or use spell slots, so clearly this character type is OP as hell. If the user had a team of 4 wizards, this game would have been over in 5 minutes. So most of the episode is just a montage of our heroes running through levels, facing a threat like a spider or a demon or whatever, and occasionally we get to see them actually resolve it. In one scene, they come across carrot knights. Hey, is this shovelware? I bet this is a shovelware game. Well, Bob dispatches them by turning Glitch into a spinning blade. Wait, okay, hold the phone. If Bob can make his multi-tool into whatever weapon he wants, why did it matter that he was armed with a butter knife? He could have just been like, A butter knife? Whatever. Glitch, actual sword for killing things, please.
He slices, he dices, he cuts julienne fries!
You already made a julienne fries joke. Our heroes reach the last level, level 66. I don't know, I think it could have gone on for, say, another 3 levels, but here we are. There's a big pit in the middle of the room, and on the other end, a candle and a giant door lock. As our protagonists approach the door, a shadow monster appears and makes quick work of Bob, Dot, and Enzo, leaving an unarmed Mike to deal with it alone. Mike figures out what to do pretty quickly, blowing out the candle, eliminating the monster. He claims he got the idea from a movie that he played once, and I guess this is the moment the characters are all, "Wow, Mike, I guess you have some worth after all as a living being." There's a riddle about working together because 90s children's television, and then our heroes can claim their prize, the Stanley Cup. However, there's a final challenge where shadow versions of our characters come out of mirrors. There's some wrestling, the user characters show up, but our heroes manage to grab the prize and win the game. The game cube returning to the sky. We get an epilogue where Bob, Dot, and Enzo apologize to Mike for being so rotten to him, and the end. So the question is, did this justify the existence of Mike the TV? And the answer is a pretty solid no. To justify Mike the TV, you would have to expand on his character, or at least give him another narrative function beyond being an annoying comic relief. We don't get any insight to Mike the TV as a person thing. He doesn't have any wants, any goals, anything to strive for. Like, I could imagine him being an awful stand-up comedian, trying to become successful, or what if he already had several owners before Bob? Maybe he comes with the apartment, and the reasons all the tenants before Bob left was because Mike was so terrible, and now Mike is desperately trying to keep Bob as a friend, but doesn't know how. But Mike never has any personable moments, no real conversations with the other characters. He just spouts jokes and occasionally helps in ways that aren't even exceptional to him. Any random binome character could solve the shadow monster puzzle. Bob didn't learn to appreciate Mike. Mike simply earned the right to live for a little while longer. There really isn't much else to the episode to help prop it up. The Quick and the Fed did a better job playing around with fantasy tropes and was funnier too, and with no megabyte stuff, there's pretty much nothing stopping you from skipping it. So, skip it. Man, this was a short one.
Wow, she's good.